All three charges. We'll feature that in our audio cut of the day coming up before the end of the hour on 97.1 FM Talk. And Andrew, our next guest here, we're going to cross-pollinate, if you will, here, because KirkAllen is with us. He's the co-founder of a group called the Edgar County Watchdogs, which is a government accountability group. But, Kirk, I must tell you, we just spent a very interesting, intense segment on the Brood 10 cicadas. And I think you're in the area where the cicadas are going to emerge. You probably know that already.
Yeah, we've been seeing some of the mud piles starting.
Really?
Yeah, so they're coming out. They're starting to emerge. It's fascinating. We learned everything that you ever wanted to know about cicadas here just a few minutes ago. But look, I'd never heard, and I'm kind of surprised. I've been here in the Missouri area for a long time, in St. Louis, back on the radio here for 16, 17 years, and government accountability is certainly something that I've covered many times over the years. And this group, the Edgar County Watchdogs, I'm reading about you a couple of days ago, and everything that you've done to expose corruption in Illinois, which, by the way, you got a lot there to expose. We know that, so you're off to a bit of an advantage compared to other states. But I want you to go through a little bit about how this group came together and what it's all about.
Well, basically, it started about 11 years ago. I'm a local volunteer fire chief and EMT, and we had an ambulance call for an 11-day-old baby not breathing. And the long story of it shortened is when I got to the scene, the child was fine. I asked the dispatcher that, took the call, why didn't you initiate infant CPR over the phone? Had they done that, they would have known the child was fine. Well, the dispatcher told me they don't do that. Well, coming out of a military career, I was shocked to hear that from a 911 dispatcher. And I went to my first public meeting, which was our 911 board, and I asked them if our dispatchers were certified. In Illinois, they have to be certified by the Department of Public Health every year. And after about 15 minutes, they said, all of our dispatchers are trained. Well, I didn't ask if they were trained. I asked if they were certified. And lo and behold, they hadn't been certified for over 6 years.
Wow.
So I thought, gosh, if they're going to lie to me about this, what else are they going to lie to me about? And we started digging in and asking for records and tracking the money, and we uncovered the most unbelievable corruption, theft of funds, misuse of funds, nepotism, you name it, we found it. And it basically grew into a movement to where we started looking into every unit of government in our local county, and it just grew and grew and grew. And now we're doing stuff statewide with Edgar County Watchdogs, and that led to the formation of what's called American Watchdogs, which is a training arm where we go all over the nation and we train people how to do what the Edgar County Watchdogs does.
So what you've accomplished here is kind of amazing. And in Real Clear Politics, when they did this story the other day, they said, and you tell me if these numbers are right, what your investigative work has resulted in is 186 indictments, 28 convictions, and the removal of 425 officials and bureaucrats from public office?
No, actually, we're 434 since we took the interview with Real Clear Politics.
I mean, dude, those are big numbers there.
It's actually pretty scary because our numbers far exceed any attorney general in any state in the entire United States.
Well, that's what, the first thing, I guess, what I'm thinking about here, listen to this, is you're focusing, I know you've expanded this now and you're going throughout the country, but if you're just doing this in one county and taking a look at things and corruption and you've garnered that much out of there, what can be happening in all the other counties?
Well, those numbers represent what we've done in the state of Illinois.
Okay, good. That
now,
makes it a little
we started
bit
out as, and here in our county, I think we've outed about 46 or 47 public officials. But statewide, we're at 432, 433. But basically, we read the local laws that apply to that unit of government. Let's say it's a fire district. Mm-hmm. And we identify what they're supposed to be doing, what they can and can't do. And when we start following the money and seeing what they're doing, we typically find out they're not following the law. We go to the meetings, we confront them on it. And unfortunately, more often than not, instead of fixing what they're doing wrong, they just want to fight us. And that's probably the worst thing they can do because our goal is to make them famous.
And you've succeeded in that goal. You file, there used to be a group of people collectively that would do some of the things that you did. You know who those people were?
Reporters?
Yeah, reporters.
News media?
Yes, news media. They used to do things like this. And
They're gone.
I've heard that.
They are gone. It's sad because if a group like yours does not exist with the Edgar County Watchdogs and the Illinois Watchdogs and expand, who is going to do it? And I think you know that, Kirk, right?
Absolutely.
So when it comes to the training, what are you doing? Because this I think would be something that could inspire, and I know there's folks like this around here in the St. Louis area as well, but do you take applications to get trained, or how does that work?
We basically, when people request the training, we try to identify people that are serious about it that can put 25 to 50 people in a room. And typically, if we train 25 to 50 people, you're going to get 3 or 4 that really take hold of what we're doing. Some of them just want to maybe hold their school board accountable. And we've got, literally thousands of parents out there that go to every school board meeting. They track what they're doing. They're asking questions and they're holding them accountable. But every now and then you'll get a handful of folks that have got the time on their hands to really go after it and follow the model of what we're teaching. And, the missing link to most of this stuff, you find something wrong and people go, okay, we know it's wrong. What do we do with it? And when we know it's criminal, we tell them to file a police report. But don't just file a complaint. You have to file a report with all the exhibits and do the police's job, because more often than not, they don't even know what the laws are to local government. They're too busy fighting all the other typical criminal activities going on. So you hand them an investigative package complete, ready to go, and it makes their job easier. They take it to the prosecutor, and then if the prosecutor doesn't prosecute, we start holding them accountable. And the whole goal is accountability to what their powers and duties are. If they're not going to do it, we're going to expose them.
Yeah, good for you. KirkAllen is my guest, talking about the Edgar County and the Illinois Watchdogs group. Is there one, because we don't have time to go through all these, there's been a lot of convictions, indictments, and people removed. Is there one that you would point to the Hall of Fame level of egregious malfeasance and behavior?
I think from a overall standpoint of what we teach, probably the most amazing was a CPA mother out of Bloomington, Illinois, who we've helped, and vice versa has helped us. She's got, an accounting background, so we've turned to her for a lot of support on crunching numbers. And she started following her city council and looking at some of the contracts with their coliseum or their sports arena. And in the contract, it outlined they were required to pay a percentage of concession sales back to the city. Well, she uncovered that they were at least $500,000, had not been paid to the city. And she files a criminal complaint on it. State police investigate. Out of that one woman, 111 indictments of 5 managers of that sports arena. 3 have been indicted, or 3 have been convicted. 2 are still awaiting, their outcome, if you will. But that's one woman that took the steps, followed our model step by step, and filed a criminal complaint. And lo and behold, there was accountability. In fact, the mayor that was behind all that said she was crazy, that mayor, he got smoked, is not running for election again. He's been so publicly embarrassed on that whole event. So that's how you get rid of these bad actors.
And if she doesn't stumble upon that or have the veracity to hunt it down, everybody gets off scot-free. Probably nobody finds this out in the end, right?
That is correct, because the local media refused to print what she was exposing at every public meeting. They ignored her for, over a year. They ignored her, and this woman filed a Freedom of Information lawsuit against the city with a handwritten complaint and turned it into the circuit court, and she won in her FOIA lawsuit to expose all this.
That's incredible. It really is. Tell me a little bit, Kirk, about John Kraft. You guys started this together. In the Real Clear piece, he's described this way. Kraft spent 22 years in the Army, lives in the foothills of Paris, Illinois. He looks like an embodiment of the word curmudgeon. Boxy glasses, a thick gray mustache, and an aggressive comb owner. The impression is confirmed by his nasally voice and deadpan delivery. He has a good sense of humor, but you would not want to anger him. Is that pretty accurate there?
Yeah, it's a pretty good description of John.
Well, so how do you guys know one another? What's the relationship there?
Well, actually, we had attended a dinner for a local sheriff that had just won here in our county. And I was talking, since the sheriff was in charge of 911, I was talking to him about my situation and how the board had lied to me. The dispatchers didn't do their job, didn't know their job, because it was up to him to fix it. Mm-hmm. And John was sitting across from the table. I had never met him before. And he goes, well, I just went to a school board meeting, and those rats lied to me about a contract for a video program. And he was in the video business, and he wanted to, have a chance to bid on the contract to film students for their sports events and, different stuff that went on at the school. And they told him, no, we're not going to do that. We'll do that at another meeting. Well, next day, the superintendent calls him and says, well, we went ahead and decided to give the contract to the same guy that's been doing it. It's like, well, you told me it wasn't going to be discussed. You lied to me. And so he started digging into the school issue, and he found several things. So we thought, let's do something about this. We're both a couple of vets, had some time on our hands, and said it's time to push back against this local corruption and nepotism. And one thing led to another, and here we are 11 years later with a track record we never dreamed would happen. But all we did was apply what we learned in the service. Here's the rules, boys and girls. You live and die by them. So we're just using the local laws that, these people are supposed to be following, and it doesn't matter what political party they are. The law doesn't know whether you're a Democrat, a liberal, or Republican. It has no clue. And we apply it equally to all of them, and we have outed just as many, Republicans as we have Democrats.
Yeah, it's a bipartisan problem with the corruption, and I give you guys so much credit. KirkAllen, thank you so much. And by the way, I hope you have a lot of energy, because you can't convince me that with all the money that's being doled out right now in Washington, St. Louis, the city of St. Louis gets $500 million. What are the chances that all that money that's being sent out is going to be used in an appropriate way and there's no corruption or anything like that that's going to go on, Kirk?
The corruption is overwhelming. Yeah. We're already seeing it here in Illinois.
I can't even imagine. And I would say, even as hard as you guys are working, as much as you do, you would have to say probably 90% of it won't ever be undercover. Maybe more than that, right?
Unfortunately, that's correct. It's going on everywhere because the prosecutors don't prosecute. They turn a blind eye because of the political, nepotism or connections. And they just simply don't. I mean, when's the last time you saw local government convictions being dealt with anywhere in your state?
Well, maybe you don't follow the news in St. Louis, but that would be never, actually. So, KirkAllen, thanks so much for coming. Keep up the great work. Let us know if you got other big people that you're taking down. I love what you guys are doing with the watchdogs. Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, I got a bunch of stuff that I want to get to here this afternoon.